and welcome to the VFL 2024 Season 13 Pre-Team Draft Lottery. I'm here with
Yeah,
Meow Groff as you've come to see us. He'll get into a little bit about the information surrounding ownership in the lottery, and I'll let him take that away.
yeah. Obviously what we're doing here is the pre-team draft lottery. It's randomized. So the thing with this is the order you get put in is not the order you are stuck in. So if you get first pick in the team draft, then that means you get last pick in the player draft. Now you will have up until Thursday at noon to trade full swap team and player with everybody. And then, say Minotaur has the sixth pick, I have the first pick, we full swap so then it flips. Okay. Now the draft is now moved to Thursday night at 8 p.m. just because that's when the final update of the week comes out. So we want to make sure teams are as close to how they're going to be throughout the season before we actually use them. Another thing is obviously owners are locked in for 2 seasons. So, obviously if you get the first pick, then, next season, if it doesn't work out, you can kind of build off that. So it's good for a lot of different reasons. And then on top of that, just some minor cleanup with everything. All 8 of our owners have been announced. Not all the GMs have been. So if you're looking to be a GM, feel free to reach out the ones that don't have a GM on their list here. And other than that, I'll just kick it back over to Minotaur so he can walk you through some of the stuff you can look forward to media as he's going to be running this season.
All right. As you mentioned, we got kind of some new people here in terms of staff. I'm going to be heading media as we start. I know a few other people have kind of mentioned they're interested, and I'm looking forward to getting into know and working with them and seeing what kind of work we can put together. I know there's been a lot of, we'll say, complaints over the media the past couple seasons, and I've been reading over the comments, reading through the Discord, and I agree with a lot of it. And I think we're really going to put a lot more effort into as we're starting now. I'd like to see this go more live. I want to see a real full-on draft spectacular. I'm going to have, some boards set up. We're going to talk about some projected mock drafts, some owners we're looking forward to seeing in action, some teams we're looking forward to seeing getting drafted. So really looking forward to all this stuff we're going to put together. We're looking to bring back a lot of the trading cards, the weekly articles. We're really, really going to put in the time to this. So any recommendations you guys have, send them this way. Any highlights you have, you'll see our socials in the top right. Send us some clips. We'll put together some videos, and we're really looking forward to seeing what we can do. So, as we get going, we are getting ready for the very first pick in the Season 13 Team Draft Lottery. So, unless you have any objections, I'll get ready to spin this wheel.
I'll let that bitch rip.
All right, let her rip. Maybe wrong screen, let her rip. And with the first pick in the 2023-2024 Season 13 Team Draft is Beastie. Congratulations, Beastie. You will have the very first pick in the team draft.
Now, this one's interesting because Beastie's a really good player, normally plays QB. So it's going to be interesting to see whether he decides he wants to go to, just a powerhouse team where he can get one of the best QBs and put up massive numbers like he always does that way, or if he's going to trade down to secure a really good quarterback and then have 2 good quarterbacks in the stable there and then try to get away with a worser team with better talent. So obviously there's 2 different options to go there, but I fully expect to see Beastie on a quarterback with at least a superstar ability this season.
Man, I'll be honest, I do not envy that first pick. Anytime, any draft, any fantasy leagues, I am doing everything I can to avoid that number 1 pick. I don't want to say anything, but I may have picked a certain chase that may or may not have kind of lost me some games this year. But we'll move on from that one. So, getting ready for the second pick in the draft lottery. Here we go. And now with the second pick in the lottery, we shall see Rig time! Good old Rigsy. As most of you in the league know who've already been here, we do have a little bit of history with Riggs. He may or may not have backstabbed and sold us out, but I'm not salty about it at all. So I'm looking forward to see what kind of 0-win season he can put together. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, as far as Riggs goes, he's kind of been plagued with playing with bad teams for a while just because that's where it usually falls. But the last time that he had a good team was when we had the Packers and won the Super Bowl. So it'll be interesting to see who he takes here. I think he's gonna hold on to this spot, honestly. and try and get somebody good, because I know he's playing with Fig this season, and him and Fig have a lot of chemistry. Obviously, he's a pussy for not wanting to play with us, but we won't go there. And but I think he'll keep his spot here and try to secure the best team possible.
Yeah. All jokes aside, Riggs is a great teammate. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do in his owner, and that'll be looking forward to the articles I'm gonna write. Let's leave it at that. So, alrighty, next round. Make sure to get rid of Riggs here, and here we go. All right. Pick 3 in the team draft lottery is Ace Boogs and GM Mr. Unknown.
Yeah, I mean, Ace is one of those guys who every time he's an owner, for some reason, he makes a deep playoff run. I've seen him do it with good teams. I've seen him do it with bad teams. The thing is, the guy knows how to draft, and he's never going to stray away from, taking his guys. He's going to go up and get his guys. And I think that's what makes him a good owner. He's not one of those guys that tries to micromanage and, get the most value out of them. He gets his guys as soon as he wants his guys. And then after that, he just kind of builds for what he can based off of, chemistry amongst other players. Putting him in a position like this, you have to assume he's probably going to want to go after Kuro. That's one of his boys. And if that is the case, then he's probably going to want to, wreak some havoc on the D line. So maybe if the 49ers aren't broken after the update, maybe he goes for the 49ers and lets Kuro just feast upon our souls this season. But that'll be interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, sounds like a real player-friendly, player-first coach. Or owner, I should say. Love to hear it. Alrighty, next up. And with the 4th pick in the 2024 Season 13 is... Highwalker! Coming through.
Highwalker, I mean, he was on our team for a few seasons. He's a good teammate to have. I know he cares a lot about the league. He'd been disgruntled about it in the past, but I'm sure most people have at one point or another. But I know he's here to stay for sure. And as far as teams go, I honestly have no idea what he's going to do. Obviously, he fell in that 4th slot, right there in the dead middle of the pack. So it's like, are you really going to be able to trade that? Not unless somebody has their sights set on a team that they think are like definitely going to fall to 4 and then they want to be in the middle. But as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the best spots to be in the draft, because you're going to get, the best overall team and the best overall player draft selection, right? Because smack dab in the middle.
You're bound to find a player or a team slide a little bit based on preferences, too. Someone's going to reach for a team they really like, and I think this is the spot where you really find a good steal. But now we're down to 4. This is really when you start to get to the bottom of the draft, when decisions start to kind of shake up a bit. So let's see what we get here. With the 5th pick, here is... Oh, it's a close one. Beach Mode with pick number 5.
Beach is a tough one to get a gauge on. Not funny enough, I think his name is Gage, but he's always been a good guy in the league. He's always been, great vibes, finished seasons out, been a great owner. At first, he didn't do very well, but over the last few seasons, he's really been starting to put together some teams that are playing really well. Every player is willing to play for Beach Mode without hesitation because he's such a good dude. And I think this is the season that we finally see Beach Mode like actually make a run at things, string it all together. And with this pick here, I think he's going to have a little bit of flexibility to move up. A little bit, just depends on what people want as far as teams go. But the one thing I do know about Beach is he doesn't mind having a bad team. And if he drafts the right good players that like to play with him, which I know there are a few out there off the top of my head, then he can, make a run at things here. And I know he really knows how to play the strategy too. I mean, a few seasons ago, we did all the bad NFL teams. He ended up with like the Steelers, I think, and he just pounded the fucking rock and played defense like the Steelers do. He played football the way God intended, and he started off the season like 3-0. His line did. So Beach, I think he's really gonna surprise us all this season.
All right, we got something to look out for. Awesome. All right, last 3. Here we go. Pick number 6, we got Hoochie. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, so he's a good quarterback. He's been in the league for a while. I know he plays mud a lot. He knows the ins and outs of the game more than anybody. So if there's anybody who's going to go overall 6th and still find a team that is somehow, better than the teams that were drafted above him, it's going to be him, right? He's gonna get a bunch of his guys to, work around the team he wants. I think he's one of those guys that's gonna draft a very position specific team and then draft his players based off of that, rather than just get his players and then whatever team and hope it meshes. He's one of the smarter owners we have. So, I think that he can definitely make the most out of where he fell.
Gotcha. All right. Down to two between Mr. Ohio and User. Coming down to the last of the teams, but the first of the players. Let's see where it falls. With pick 7 of season 13, we have Mr. Ohio, GM Blunky.
It's an interesting one for sure. I love Ohio. He's been in the league forever. Blunky, he's come a long way since he joined the league. And I'm glad that him and Ohio have, found some sort of cohesive unit to play together, because Blunky, when you can tame him, he's a good QB. He'll get out there, he'll put up stats, he'll win games. And obviously Ohio's been putting up with him long enough to where he's not going to be surprised by the strong personality that Blunky brings with him. Now, I know they would probably prefer to play with a better team, but the advantage at being pick 7, pick 8 is you get one of the two best players in the player draft unless you decide to trade. Right.
Exactly.
So
Keep in mind, they could be trading. We could be seeing an entirely different order come Thursday. So you got to stay on the lookout. Stay in the Discord, hear up on chats, talk around the league. You'll know before we know, but we'll let you know when we know.
And now, as far as the last pick goes, User and Shadow, I think this might be the best spot for them to fall into. One of the things they're going to struggle with is being newer. I know Shadow hasn't really had much of a taste of management. I believe this is User's first time being an owner. They're both good guys. I talked to Shadow for a little bit, and he's really invested in the league and the growth of it and the development of it. The only thing is, with the guys that haven't been in as long, and maybe you can, kind of add to this, I think that it's more important, because I know they definitely have guys they like to play with. I think it's more important to be at the number 1 slot for, teams generally built around this style, because then they can go out there, get the best Madden team, and then they can win games with their lines that they already know they're going to pick up, and they can build a third line that's, maybe could surprise a few people. Right. Yeah. Typically guys like this aren't going to go out there and draft, like I did last season. Last season, I went out there, I drafted Ponchi. It backfired completely, right? I was like, let me take the best quarterback maybe on the board and see how it goes and get the worst team. So not only were we miserable with our team, but also Ponchi didn't play. And when he did, it wasn't all that electric. So my early prediction for trades would be this slot right here.
Yeah. All right. So we got, just to recap quickly, the number 1 pick, we got Beastie. Number 2, we have Riggs Time. And number 3, we got Ace Boogs. Number 4, we got High Walker. 5, we got Beach Mode. Then Hoochie, Mr. Ohio. And last but certainly not least is User. As we've talked about several times, with trades, anything can happen. And even just getting last in the team, getting first of the players, there's really no bad spot to be here. This is all preference. And I think that's really going to bring out a lot of interesting strategies here. I mean, truth be told, I don't really know if there's really a dead set number 1 team in the game to begin with. I think a lot of it comes down to abilities and preferences for your players. I mean, we generally, like you said, like to, play the way God intended, run it down their throat. We look for running backs. We look for the trenches. We look for the power. We might have other teams going strictly for the quarterback, strictly for receivers who can moss in the end zone. There's all sorts of possibilities here. You have any thoughts on, a top team, bottom team, what people are gunning for here?
Before I get into that, I'm just gonna let everybody know that the player draft is next week. It's scheduled for the 15th as of right now, and just to ensure that we can take things off as seamlessly as possible without any issues, we just make sure we get everybody signed up. I know there's a few of you out there that still aren't signed up, and I know a few of you have people you plan on playing with or that are friends of yours that aren't signed up yet. So let's just make sure that we can kind of get everybody, get the ball rolling on that a little bit. We're not short by any means, but we're on track to get to where we want to be, but we'd like to have a little extra, obviously. So just make sure you go and sign up. You'll find it in VFL News, VFL signups. It's everywhere there. And then, you can stop seeing those notifications, just be like, oh, it's fucking Groff again trying to get me to sign up, right? But other than that, predictions for teams are tough. I mean, the Niners, they're really good, but Brock Purdy kind of has a needle dick for an
Yeah.
arm. I don't.
I mean, maybe
He
you think
sails everything.
he might get an ability. He was in some MVP talks early. I mean,
Yeah,
they might throw him a
he very
few.
well could. If he does get an ability, then they'll be the front runner 1,000,000%. I don't think there's any, comparing them to any other team. But as of right now in Madden, you can't even load into a team play game without it breaking with them.
That's a
So they
fair
could
point.
either be completely useless or they could be the best team in the game. Now, after that, it kind of trickles a little bit. Obviously, the Eagles are really good with their offensive line, their defensive line. They got Jalen Hurts. They have a lot of superstar abilities. So they're a pretty safe team to go with. Their defense is a little bit of a liability past the D line, but
Especially with
with
injuries. I
Slay,
don't know how many people are really going to be healthy come update. So I don't know how that's going to
yes,
all play out.
yep. If
So
injuries are gone, they'll be good. And then after that, it kind of tapers off a lot because then you have your teams like the Chiefs, the Bills, teams that are really good superstars, but it doesn't seem like they have the supplemental players in between to kind of round them out all the way. So at that point, it kind of becomes a shootout. I mean, the Cowboys will be really good, especially if they get eliminated from the playoffs and get an update where they get all their players back. But I'm kind of more interested in seeing who do you think the bottom two teams will be selected? Because those are always kind of the teams where it kind of gets a little money, where it's like, those are you can go 5 or 6 different ways with those teams.
shoot, how's Flacco going to be performing? That's the real question out there. We'll bring the doghouse back. I don't care. No, that's tough. I mean, it really comes down to preferences. A lot of that stuff. I mean, you'll start to see players who like mobile quarterbacks, players who like to just heave the ball or run the ball around.
Yeah,
It's,
I mean,
I mean, like you said, the Bengals are one of those teams that they have weapons, but they just never seem like a good enough full unit for me to be comfortable rocking with. So I think we'll see them slide a bit. I don't know how many people are really going to be, especially with injuries and everything else. I don't even know if they're going to be an option at all.
yeah, I
So
mean, it's all super imperative on when the update comes out. If all the eliminated playoff teams do get all their healthy players back, you'll see teams like the Bengals. You'll probably see teams like the Chargers
yeah,
get selected.
potentially.
My sleeper is for the last pick of the draft. It probably won't go, but I think somebody's going to tamper around down in Tampa Bay and try and grab
Oh,
the Bucks.
really? Interesting.
I mean, the superstars they have
I mean,
are really good.
The receivers are dogs. I don't know how Mayfield's gonna stats out and ability out,
Um,
and I don't
I
know about
mean, he's got a bit of a, he throws the ball like a girl a little bit,
any of that.
but Rashad White's a lot better than he suggests. Ryan Jensen, the center, is coming back. Carlton Davis at DB is coming back, so their defense rounds out a little bit better there. And then obviously their D line's really good once you make the
Solid
adjustments.
D line.
And it's a well-rounded team. That's my shot in the dark last pick of the team draft is the Buccaneers. So if you had to say, who would you say?
Oh boy, I don't even know. I really think it's such a toss up. I think it could be any teams. I think we could see a whole mix up of anything. I mean, I know, like you said, the 49ers, depending on how they update, could change the entire list of everything. They could kick teams down. They could slide to the bottom.
Yeah.
Same thing with players like the Ravens and what they got going on there.
I mean, who
I think
knows?
I think
Maybe
there's
the
gonna be a lot of
Vikings get
teams
their
get.
players back.
I think a lot of teams are gonna get pulled a bit earlier. I think people are gonna preference teams over players. I think a lot of people kind of thought the other way last time around, and it kind of bit them a little bit. So I don't know. I'm really just interested to see how many people trade and see how many people want a team and how many people want a player.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it really is just kind of whatever the owners decide to do with everything, and no matter what they decide to do, dumb or not, we'll be covering it with all the media
Very true.
along the way. And so yeah, that's gonna do it for the team randomizer. Now, like I said, remember guys, important times. Thursday at noon is when the trades are no longer going to be processed. So get your trades in tonight, get them in tomorrow, early Thursday, and then Thursday at 8 p.m. will be the official team draft.
Right. We appreciate everyone who tunes in, watches this week after week. We're going to see some improvements. We're going to see some improvements to both the interface, the content, the updates, the social media. As Groff mentioned, make sure to go to primetimeleagues.com/VFL. Make sure you're signed up. Make sure you have all the alerts on. Make sure in all the Discord chats. And if you're interested in staff, we'd love to get more people involved. So I think that about sets us up here as we're ready to sign off.
Yep.
So
So have a great season, guys.
we'll see you next time, all.